Hi everybody, this is Geraldine from Missing Persons of America. San Francisco Police Department have announced that they have a $100,000 reward for information leading to the discovery of Arianna Fitts. We're going to go over that case and tell you all about it in just a sec. Back in 2016, I wrote up a story about this case where Nicole Fitz went missing. No one could find her, along with her daughter, Arianna Fitts, who was 2 years old at the time. It began with the story of the discovery of Nicole Fitts' body over in a park in San Francisco, and the San Francisco Police Department were searching for her daughter. Now, Nicole was found murdered in the John McLaren Park near University in Woolsey. Now, Nicole Fitts was found buried in a shallow grave, and there was a piece of plywood that was put on top. Now, what was interesting about the piece of plywood, and later on the police actually released a photo of that piece of plywood, was the silver paint graffiti that was put on the plywood, and they think that it may have something to do with her murder, and they're looking for any tips on that information also. So when this story first came out, it was mostly concentrated on finding Ariana. Nicole was found deceased, and they wanted to find Ariana as quickly as they could, and not too much of the backstory had been released at that time. So I just pretty much put the usual information out. But when I found out that they had raised the reward money to $100,000, I went back and I did some research on this case, and I wanted to learn some more about it, and I want to share what I found out with you. So leading up to Nicole's murder, Nicole's family reported her missing on April 5th, 2016. They were getting text messages from Nikki, and there was also a post on Facebook, but it just didn't seem like it was actually coming from her. The text messages said that Nikki was going to Fresno, California with a man named Sam, and they didn't know anybody named Sam. They didn't know that she knew anybody named Sam, so that seemed very strange. And then on Facebook, she put a post on there, and it read, "Spending time with my 3-year-old, need this break." Now, what was interesting was that Nikki's daughter was 2. She wasn't 3. And the family thought that seemed awful strange that she would say spending time with a 3-year-old when her daughter was really 2 years old. The other thing was Nicole would not misspell things. And in this text message, it's spelled B-R-A-K-E for break instead of B-R-E-A-K. And they knew that she wouldn't have done that. So they found that very strange too. So no, to go back a little bit further, let me give you a little bit what was going on in Nicole's life before she went missing. Now, Nicole was living in Oakland, but she worked in San Francisco, so it made for a really long commute. But before that, she was in a homeless shelter with her daughter, Ariana, and her oldest daughter was being taken care of by the oldest daughter's father. So she was trying to get back up on her feet, trying to care for Ariana, had this dream to be able to get a home so she could have her older daughter spend time with her too. And this is what her goal was, and this is what she was working towards. And she seemed to be going on the right direction and getting there. Now, she ran into Limasani Briggs, and he said, "Why don't you come live with me? You pay some rent. I have some sisters that can take care of Ariana for you while you're working, and let's do that." And so she agreed. She thought that was a good solution to get out of the shelter center. And she was commuting back and forth, and there was a lot of time she was spending commuting, and she wasn't seeing her daughter as much as she wanted, but she was trying to save up money so she could get a home for them alone. And she just kept working and working and had her head down and working. and everything seemed to be going pretty well. But then the rent started to increase where she was living. And Lemasani said, well, now it's such and such dollars a month. And it kept increasing to the point that it wasn't any help to her anymore. And she wasn't able to save money like she did before. And then also she was also getting frustrated with the sisters. One sister was named Siolo Hearn, Siolo Hearn, Hearne, and Helena Hearn Martin. And Helena was married to a man named Martin, and they were all taking care of Ariana. But sometimes Ariana would go by to get her daughter, and they would say, oh, she's in bed, she's sleeping, don't disturb her. And she felt like they were just like taking over her life and taking over Ariana. And she really started to feel like she needed to get out of there. And she was really starting to get worried about it. And she contacted her sister, and her sister came and got her for a while, and she got Ariana. But she was able to see Ariana more, but she still had to have a babysitter. So she decided to take her back over to Briggs' house so they could watch her while she went to work. So I think she pretty much was just kind of trapped in this situation, and this is the only thing she could do. But she knew it was only going to be a short period of time because she was saving her money up to get her own place. And then out of the clear blue sky, it seemed, somebody came forward, a co-worker at the job, and said, hey, why don't you be my roommate? You guys move in, Ariana move in, you pay half the rent, and let's do that, and you'll be closer to work. You don't have to do this long commute. So Nicole, she was thrilled with this idea, and she went back to the sisters, and she said, I won't need you anymore after April 2nd. So things were really looking up. She reportedly told the babysitter that she wasn't going to need her anymore, and that the last day would be April 2nd. Now, up to this point, she was seeing Ariana less and less and less, and it got to the point where she was at the roommate's house, but she wasn't able to get Ariana. And I don't know how many days it had been, but it had been several days since she had seen Ariana, and she just wasn't able to get her. She would go to call and say, I'm coming to get her, and they would give her excuses not to come. So now the roommate was now involved. The roommate said to her, said, why don't you call the police? Tell the police what's going on. They'll help you get Ariana back. But for some reason that we don't know, she didn't do it. But on April 1st, I guess she felt she was going to take care of the situation herself. So on April 1st, she was on the phone with a friend at the roommate's house with her roommate. She said, I got to go see the babysitter. And she left. Now, it was known that she had gone to the bank that day and she had withdrawn several $100s out of there. And it's theorized that what she was doing was likely gathering that money to go pay the babysitter to get Ariana back. Now, why she didn't go to the police and have them intervene, I don't know. There might have been something, she was just trying to handle this herself. I don't know. I don't know if anybody will ever know. But she was attempting to do this, and she got on the train and she headed in to pick up Ariana, but she was never seen again. So shortly after this story broke, San Francisco Police Department didn't release a lot of details, like I said before. And they said that she was found under a shallow grave and there was a piece of plywood, but they didn't say anything about the graffiti that was on the plywood till a while later. So if you take a look at that piece of plywood and see if you recognize it, and I think that maybe it's a tag that someone put on the plywood, and then maybe the plywood was just found there and put over. That's kind of what I think. But regardless, the police feel there's more to it and they need the information. So if you recognize the tag, if you recognize that graffiti, or anything about it, also note that it's done with silver paint. That might also mean something too. If you've seen this same tag someplace else, please let the police know. Maybe they can narrow it down what was going on with that piece of plywood. Either figure out it had something to do with Nicole's death or eliminate it as having anything to do with Nicole's death. Now, we know that the Police went and they talked to the sisters to find out what was going on. And when they did, they didn't have Ariana. I don't know. I haven't found any information that's saying why they didn't have her when all the information led to the fact that they did have her. But People magazine called the family's attorney, the Martins' attorney, and his name was Daryl Stallworth, and this is what he had to say about it. He says, I appreciate the investigation and the family wanting to do everything they can to find that beautiful young child. My client has and continues to communicate that she had nothing to do with Ariana's disappearance. There wasn't enough information developed by law enforcement to change that position. That was it. So there's been no suspects named in Nicole's murder. Although the police have insinuated that the Martins have something to do with it. So let me tell you a couple things that they've said. On November 26th, the police stated the family is hoping that someone will recognize the now 3-year-old and report that she has been seen. She could possibly still be in the San Francisco area and could even be going to childcare or preschool anywhere. A San Francisco police questioned Helena Martin, a known babysitter for Ariana, and Martin retained an attorney, is no longer speaking with the police. Now, Commander Greg McUrchin, he said at a press conference on May 19th, the police are confident that Ariana was being cared for by acquaintances of her mother. Now, they haven't released any name at that time. The issue is they will cooperate and they have given police conflicting statements. The issue is they will not cooperate and they have given police conflicting statements, which leads investigators to believe they know exactly where she is. The police says, I think she's still in the Bay Area and I think she's still alive. And I do too. She's out there. I think she's still alive. Now, we don't know what has happened after the death of Nicole. They had to figure out what to do with Ariana. Now, was she sold? Could have been. Was she given to another relative? Could have been. They're saying that the Martins do live in the San Francisco area and go around that area, and they have relatives around that area and friends in that area. So is it possible that they gave her to somebody? It's sure it is. And is she going to school? Sure, it could be she's at school. She could be at daycare. She's old enough to be going to school at this point, and she could have been enrolled in school and no one knows who she really is. So if you're a teacher and you think there's a likeness to the photo of Ariana, please call the police and tell them that you think there's a likeness and they can investigate the case. The police also released an age progressive sketch. It's a black and white one. And if you know any child that looks similar to that, same age, then please contact the police. Ariana's out there somewhere and she deserves to be found. There's a family that's still looking for her. They had to go through this horrible, horrible thing of their family member being killed and murdered. And now their other family member is missing and they really, really need help finding her. So if you have any kind of clue or any kind of hint where she might be, please let them know. If you want to remain anonymous, please send it over to me and I'll make sure it gets to the police. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. That's it for today. Bye-bye.